Trivedi, founder of AT Skills, a learning platform, an e-learning platform, where we do provide SAP learning. So today I am going to cover system landscape, which is very important part of each module. Whether any SAP module I talk about. So this is a very important concept that every SAP consultant is expected to know. From scratch, I would, explain what does system landscape covers. This is system landscape that we are going to talk about. Now, when I talk about the organization structure, in SAP, there is something called as client. There is something called as client, which is at highest level into the hierarchy. So when I talk about client, client means I'm talking about SAP system itself. And client, it is the topmost organizational unit which is going to hold all my SAP data, which is going to store all SAP data. So this is what is client. Now, particularly when I talk about system landscape, let's go to SAP logon. And here we see, as soon as I go here and try to log in, I do have a client which is 400. Now, when I talk about real time, in real time it is, we are not going to have only a single client. When in real time you work, you have to have, means you have to deal with multiple clients in real time. So that is what I'm going to explain in today's lecture, that why do we have multiple clients and what is the requirement of all those clients that we have in real time. So let's move on. And when I talk about system landscape, we do have different clients in different servers. There is something called as client server architecture, where this is where it is being dealt. And so we do have different clients, multiple clients we do have in servers, and every SAP server has multiple clients depending upon the client's requirement. So now let's say when the project is starting, I'll gather all my requirements, and based on that, we are going to do certain configurations and testing into the system. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do it in the production system or in production environment. Directly changes I'm not going to do in production environment. Because if at all there are any changes we need to have, then there should be, certain mechanism is required for restoring and backup, so that we can, restore all the data. So one client is there, that needs to be kept very clean. So when I talk about different environments into the system landscape, first we do have is development client. Let's say development environment. Okay, so development client, why I'm not saying, because in development environment also we do have multiple clients. Now, when I talk about development environment, here what we are doing is we are doing developments, we are doing configurations. Now, in this, I do have multiple clients. Let's say, for example, I'm taking 100. 100 is my client that I do have. So this is just a hypothetical example that I'm taking. In real time, the client's number may also be different and the purpose of clients may also be different. Coming to, let's say what I'm taking is 100 is my configuration client. Okay. And I do have 110 client that is going to be my development client. And then I do have 120, which is my unit testing client. So now the major question is, why are we having different clients? What is the requirement of these many clients? So when I talk about why are we having these many, different clients? Why are we having these many different clients? So every client, may it be 100, may it be 110, may it be 120. So every client is having its own sets of data. One thing, that every client is having its own sets of data. Now, when we say every client is having its own sets of data, why do we have different sets of data? When we have, when I'm doing only one development or I'm doing only one configuration that is to be done. It is because you need to have clear segregation between different type of activities that you are performing. You need to have clear segregation between whatever activities we are performing. For example, let's say we are doing organization structure configuration in SAP. All this will be done in client 100. After doing all this, I'm going, with the help of something called as transport management, I'm going to move this from 100 to 120 client, where I'll be testing this configuration that is done. Okay. For example, I have created, company code, or let's say controlling area, or cost center, or profit center, all these. So I'm going to test whether these are working fine or not. So for that, testing I am doing into unit testing client in 120 client. Now, what is 120 client? See, here I have done configurations. I am, with the help of transport management, I'm moving this to 120 client, wherein I am testing all these. Now, what is this unit testing? So any testing that is done by the development team itself is called as unit testing. This is very first testing that is done. So here you are going to test individual functionalities. It is basic testing and not process testing from end to end. Okay. Now 100 client, we got it for configuration. 120, we have done it, we have kept it for unit testing, whatever. Here we are going to do the configurations, we are going to do the testing here. Now, why do we require separate client for developments? So when I'm talking about developments, I'm talking about ABAP developments. Now, Configuration client, when I'm talking about, it is for functional. So why do I require separate client for developments? The requirement for separate development client is, again, to keep segregation between configurations and developments. Reason is because if at all, let's say there is any change and I'm going to revert certain changes. For example, a developer has, developed wrong program. So that is going to impact the work of functional consultant if I, keep it in the same client. And again, this is one major reason why we are keeping it separate. Now, whatever changes, whatever activities I'm carrying out in 100 or 110, ultimately I'm moving on to 120 to test all these, whether together they are working fine or not. Now, coming to testing, why do we require a different line for testing? Testing, I can perform in 100 client also. Okay, I'll once do the configuration and then I'll test it. What is the requirement of separate testing client? When I talk about separate testing client, because there are certain configurations into the system in SAP system which you cannot change the moment you do transaction posting. For example, let's say by mistake, I have created controlling area with a different name. Business said we don't want to have name as my controlling area name is, let's say, ABCD, and business said we don't want ABCD, we want it as WXYZ. Now first I need to delete this. I will have to delete this data. But for example, let's say I have, posted certain transactions onto this. Then system will not allow me to delete controlling area. So for that purpose, we do post the transactions only in 120. And 100 we are going to keep it clean, means master data I am recording here, but here in unit testing client, then I'm testing, I am covering master as transactional, both of these data. Okay, so once I have, transaction I have posted, then system won't allow me to delete this. So I'm going to post the transactions only in 120 client, 100 and 110. We are not posting anything. We are just, having master data into this. So 100 client, will still allow me to change controlling area, even though transactions I have posted in 120 client. So that's why every client is having its own sets of data. We are saying client means every client is having its own sets of data. So 100 has its own sets of data, 110 has its own sets of data, same with 120 as well. Now, whatever data I'm posting in 100 will not be reflecting in 120. This is a client dependent data. Okay, transactional data. So manually with transport management, I can transfer master data, but transactional data I cannot transfer. Second, when we talk about second into the system landscape is quality environment. So when I talk about quality, what's the major purpose of quality environment? Now we have done all the configurations, we have done all the developments, and we have performed, basic testing, uh, basic testing. Now I want to, start with end-to-end functionality testing and end-to-end, functionality on what we say process. Okay, process I want to test into the system. I want to see new environment. So I want a new environment where I don't want to have unit testing data. Okay. Now here first thing we are going to do is system integration testing. So when I'm talking about system integration testing, there might be, various other softwares like OpenText is there other than SAP. Okay. Some third-party softwares for fetching exchange rates for banking purpose. Okay. Or for any other purpose. There may be, apart from SAP, there may be many other softwares that the integration is happening. So these are not directly connected. These are connected via some interfaces with other system. Okay, just giving an example, when I'm purchasing something from Amazon, and let's say whatever payment gateway I'm choosing, let's say I'm choosing net banking. So net banking will redirect me to my bank, bank page, and wherein I have to, submit my login credentials, and then I will be able to log in. But there is something in between, that is some interface in between that is connecting Amazon with bank page. So that is what we are testing here, that interface. So in SIT, we are testing whether this interface is working fine or not. This is what we are testing in system integration testing. Coming to next is UAT. So this is user acceptance test. When I'm talking about UAT, here I want, business users to start testing the system as they use SAP in their day-to-day activities. Okay, so that is altogether a new client. Let's say when I'm talking about SIT, this is SIT, and this is my 200 client, and this is my 210 client, and this is UAT. Okay, so I require, separate client for UAT purpose, because now I want my business users should start, I'm handling my system, handling the SAP system to business users, so that, they can start performing the test over those. Now, once the testing is done by the business user, business has given go ahead, then, then system is, they have told that, okay, system is working fine, then then we can plan for go live. Now, UAT, okay, so during when I'm doing UAT, KTs should be given to the users as part of this UAT, as part of UAT. Okay, so some super users are there. To them, you need to give KT. Means for all are the senior persons, they would pass on the KT to the end users and core end users, and we give them KT. Okay, we have structured the system in this way, and we will hand over the system to them. Now, coming to third one, when this UAT is done, then we can, plan for go live. So we do have some production client wherein I am not doing any configuration, I'm not doing any developments, I'm not doing any testing. This here, this is the client. Client would be using production client for their day-to-day activities. Sometimes, when it is a migration project, maybe before the go live, you might want to do, some testing, some data migration related testing. So I don't want, means client says we don't want in different environment. Then you can, here itself, you can plan for, let's say 300 is my production client, and in rare cases I'm talking. So, and let's say 301 they have set for migration activities. Okay, so migration client. For let's say it as migration client, not migration activities, but migration client. So it will be used for, cutover activities. Now, when I'm transferring data, this transfer of data is done using something we have as transport management. Under transport management, we do have something called as transport requests. Now, what is TR? Or we say this as TR. So TR is a package which will, store certain data, be it configuration data or development data. It can be your configuration data or your development data. Transactional data cannot be stored in a TR because transactions will differ in each and every client. Okay. So now let's say I want to, move my data from 100 to 200. Then in that case, I'm, going to take the help of Basis team, SAP Basis consultant who would be there. But when I'm talking about moving it to the same environment and different client, let's say I want to move it from 100 to 120. I can do it with the help of T code, that is SCC1. When talking about HANA, we do have SCC1N. So with the help of this T code, I can, move my TR from one client to another. When talking about same environment. In case of, different environment, I need to take the help of Basis team. So this is all for today, and I hope you would enjoy. For the complete training, you can reach out to us separately. Thanks everyone for watching.